Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Bava Batra daf Mem Daled. We're going to begin on the very top of Mem Daled with Aleph, discussing the following scenario, where you have a field that was stolen from Shimon. Now, Shimon gave up all hope. Therefore, when Reuben afterwards sold it to Levi, in this case, if we're dealing with karka is ein nigzelas, something that cannot be stolen, and therefore there really isn't a kinyan over here. So we said that and therefore he could not testify because there's achrayas alav, because he still has some connection to this land. And in this case, afterwards, Yehuda came and said that the field actually belonged to him. Now, how do we understand this? So what ended up happening is, according to one interpretation, that and the second answer is that both of them produce witnesses. And therefore, because each of them produce witnesses, we say that the land should stay wherever it currently is. So therefore, it's in the hands of Levi, so therefore it stays in the hands of Levi. So the Gemara continues, the lukma begazlan, says the Rashba, umakshin the Rav Sheshes, the ukma b'leikeach min gazlan. Why do we keep it in Levi's hands, the one who bought it from the gazlan, from Reuven, shel yed hanigzel leikeach, so that Shimon, who's the nigzel, doesn't testify, v'lisnei gazlan. Why don't we say give it to the gazlan? Skipping a few lines, v'hachi havi le'lemisne bebraisa. Just say this case, and basically you don't need the whole case of Levi at all, Tarabanan, and just say like this: Gazalas, bias, Gazalas sada, ein meid lo'alecha. You can't testify. Memnei shachar yosef shel nigzalei de gazlan. Why does it need to mention this whole case? Not that we give it to the gazlan, but it means why do we have to have this case where in question is the land was given over to Levi, or sold to Levi. So why does it have to be that way? Just simply say the case and say you don't need Levi at all. So mishum de kaboil misnei seifa, because of the seifa. It says machal para machal talis, the davka machar, only what was sold, the havle yish v'shin rishus. Because since we're dealing with metaltalin, you have yish and shin rishus, says the Rashbam. Kagain shemachar lo Reuven hagazlan lo Levi, halokech shelo b'achrayis. So again, Reuven stole from Shimon, but he stole, let's say, metaltalin, a cow, talis, and he sold it to Levi. The osyu without achrayis. So if it's taken away, so then Levi loses out. The osyu hud v'kamer shlihi. Huda comes and says, "Oh, that's my cow, that's my talis." Medlo Shimon. So here Shimon can testify, Levi on Levi's behalf. Halokeach, the lav di Yehudihi, that actually does not belong to Yehuda, but it belongs to me. It belonged to me, Shimon, before it was stolen. The halo hadar Shimon, because it's not going to go back to Shimon anyway, because there was a kinyan. Umapiklo mine de Levi. The eno no gebe edus is not no gebe edus. Ukagon the shaminu l'Shimon de miyayish ba'oda bebeis Reuven, that it was already heard that Shimon already gave up hope while it was still in the Ganav's hands. Kainim shemach Levi, before it was sold to Levi. Dahavi yeyish biad gazon. There was yeyish in the hands of Reuven. V'shin rishus biad lekech. So therefore, because of that, Shimon's not going to get it back anyway. So therefore, since he's not going to get it back anyway, he should be able to testify. That's only in a case of it was sold. Therefore, there was yeyish and shin rishus. Says the Rashbam, demikar koi enu meid. However, when it comes to land, not the havi noigeh be'edus, the hardule, because he'll be able to get it back because it's not stolen. So if Shimon testifies that it belongs, it's not Yehuda's, so then all of a sudden it's going to go to Levi, but then he'll say, yeah, but Levi bought it from a Gazan who stole it from me, so he's going to get it back. The ein yish v'shin rishus moyel b'karka the karka nigzelas. However, metaltalin made to kanalo lokech beish, because Levi was kained with the yish and shin rishus v'lo tahadule, and it's not going to go back to him. So that is the reason why we need to mention Levi and put him in the picture, because of the Seifa. Misham de Kabbalah Misnei Seifa, Machlo Para, Machlo Talis. The Davka Machar, the Havli Yeshin Rishus. The Velo Machar, the Hadru lay low. But otherwise, it would go back to him, and therefore, because of that, it doesn't work. So Tana Resha, that's why the Resha also mentioned Nami Machar. So that's the reason why I mentioned the case of Machar and the Resha, even though it really didn't have to. Okay. But Seifa Nami, so I can still have another question. The end, Nihi, what Tamatalto Nihi granted Demiyayish Megufe, that Shimon was Miyayish himself from the land. However, Midemei Miyayish, he's still going to gain because he's going to get his money back. Okay, fine. Because it was Yish in Shin Rishus, so therefore he's not going to get his par back. He's not going to get his talus back. But he'll still be able to get the value of it. So isn't he still Nogeh Be'enos? Well, Tzricha Demes Gazlan. We're talking about a case where the Gazlan died, and therefore you're not going to get it back. Ditnan. Hagoizel Meichel as Banav, let's say he stole, and the children ate it. There's no chiyuv to have to pay. Says the Rashbam. Nehi demiyayish maguf for the par of a talus lo yitzyan miyan levi. You can't take the actual talus or cow away. However, he should get his money back. Bitmia, says the Rashbam. No. The Gazlan has to pay him back. It's good to go into Levi's hands. And then he'll be able to be paid back from Reuven. The answer is, yeah, that's a great point, but Reuven's dead. Says Rashbam, he loses the money too. The Yershim Patur Mosham, because the Yershim don't have to pay. The Koshikin Olokech, the Akademi Shin Rishus, the Ateros Yade. So the Gemara says, okay, look, I'm going to be Yerish. Why do we have to have this whole case of Gazlan? Why don't we just say it's a case of a Yerish? I could understand if you want to tell me because they don't have the same din, so therefore we can't just simply say that the same din applies to a Yerish. No, it's not the same thing as a Loikech. If in fact the din is exactly the same, so then why doesn't it just mention the case of a Yerish? V'od kasha le'abaye. Question to Abaye. He says, because there's achrayus and achrayasolav. It's all totally on him being able to get it back or not. If he's not going to get the item back, because there was a Kenyan, there was Yish and Shirishos, and Reuven's dead. So that's the reason why. So the language is a shtickle madna. So how do we understand this? Ella Kidaravin Bar Shmuel. The Yom Ravin Bar Shmuel, Mishmin Shmuel, if a person sells a field to his friend without achrayas, ein meid oleha, you still cannot testify on his behalf. Because a Baal Chayv is going to come and take it away. And the problem is that you're going to look like, as the Rashbam says, that you made a sale and all of a sudden it gets taken away because of Shul B'Achrayis. So all of a sudden it looks like, you look like a rush over here. So in that situation, because even Shul B'Achrayis, you don't want it to be taken away because it makes you look bad. So therefore, because of that, that's the din. V'davka by sada. This is only by a house or a field. Of a par of a talus, low. When it comes to a talus or a para, lo miboy, as we continue to memdal mibays bestama, if it was just done plainly, that you didn't actually designate the para of the talus explicitly, duloi mishabdale, that certainly there's no shibud because there's not going to be a coal on its metaltalin. My time and metaltalin ninhu metaltal yobal chayv lo mishabdi. It's not going to be meshubad. V'afagav the kosevle. Even if you write this decoration, which seems that there's a collection even on Metaltalin, Hanimili to Isnuhu Be'inahu. That's only if it's still around. Of Alaisnu Be'inahu low. Or if it's not around, then not. And it's not around because he doesn't have rights to it because he was koinit. El Filu also a potiki nami. Even if a potiki, potehekoi, that you're going to be able to collect from this very thing, even that. My time, it could Rabbi. The Amar Rabba also Abdai Apotiki. If you made an Eved into an Apotiki, Umachroi, and you sell him, Baal Chayv Goyvim Mimenu. So then the Baal Chayv can collect this Apotiki, this Eved. However, Shara B'chamara Apotiki, if it's an animal, Umachroi, and sold in Baal Chayv in Baal Chayv Goyvim Mimenu. My time, High Islay Kala, High Leislay Kala. When it comes to an Eved, there's a coal. However, when it comes to a shore and a chamor, there is no coal. Says the Rashbam, Parvatalis v'yadal kuchos zahir. He wouldn't know to be careful. The hilchach made law you can testify the ein ma midam emnei b'chayv. In fact, the Gemara v'lichash delma achni le matatli agav mekarkoi. Maybe there was a Kenyan agav over here. Diamar Rabba I achni le mekarka agav matatli kani. Mikarkoi kana metatli. Yom Rav Chisda v'hu dekasav le Doloi kasmach doloi ketaisa deshtari, which is also written in a ksuba. So I understand. Shouldn't we be concerned of it being kind of agav? Says Rashbam. Matatul and nickname the chasim sheisham achrayis in the matana b'kesef v'shtar v'chazaka. So if you're kind of karka, you can also be kind of matatul. Let's say it's on it, or maybe it's not even on it. V'odin le'inyan shibud. If there's a shibud on the land, it can be a shibud on this as well. Says the Rashbam, to look at smachta, the kivan de ein zumachir gemura. It's an actual sale. It's not an actual sale. V'lo matana v'lo mashkain el shibud ba'alma. Hilkach sarach lichta v'loi lichta ba'alumi shtari. You need to write it to strengthen the star. To look at smachta the smachta loikanya. My answer is altar. You bought it and you sold it immediately, so there was no loan in between. You don't have to be concerned about a loan in between. Maybe we should be concerned of future purchases. The person says, I know for sure that this person never had land. Says the Rashbam, still be concerned. Before this, and the borrower wrote to the lender, in the future that I'll acquire. So it should still be a shibud. How could he testify? If you're not chayish, mashma demisha kaisav kain da'akni, etc. So the answer is that it never that they testify that this person did not ever have land. That you can't retract. But turns out it's not his. You could go back to the seller. It's only when it's recognizable that it's his donkey. Says the Rashbam of the Lekeach. They testify that this cow belongs to the seller. It wasn't stolen. I saw it sewn in his house. Okay. That's why I sold it to you. Okay. We're going to stop there, but let's maybe see a question. Let's go back to question 5. We saw this yesterday, but let's see it again. So Reuven stole again from Shimon land, or metaltalin, and Shimon gave up, and then Reuven went and sold it to Levi, and then Yehuda claims that it was his. So can Shimon testify that the land definitely was not Yehuda's? So he ended up saying, when it comes to karka, since it's not nigzeles, so therefore Shimon still is really the owner, even though there was Yish and Shin Rishos. So if he's taken out of Yehuda's hands, so he testifies it's not Yehuda's, so Lo Yachol Shimon Lo Haitzim Mimenu. He's going to be no game be'edus, because he's going to, if he takes it out of Yehuda, he'll be able to get it back. But Mamataltal, it's totally if a Yairish is Kurishus Lekeach. Kan ha-Yairish Umayed. Is a Yairish like a Lekeach? Okay. Question 6. Heichim Mishkachas al Mataltal and Mishtab l'Bal Chayiv B'Goyv Oisam L'Kuchais. Where do we find a shibud on Metaltalin? So the answer is that it was Agav Karka. Because there was a shibud on the Karka, it could also be Mishabed on the Metaltalin too. You have to be specific and write that particular lashon for this to actually to be chal. Okay. Now let's see question TA28. Reuven shegazel paro talos mishimen umachal levi shalo b'acharayis v'Yehudim arish shehem shalo im Shimon yachal hey levi shapara eno shel Yehuda. Can he testify regarding the cow? Which again is, if there was, again here we're talking about there was Yish and Shin Rishus. So he says like this: Im Shimon nisyayish umeisa gazlan, and he died, then Oz havli Yish and Shin Rishus. But para loy chazeres, it's not going to go back to him. V'gam es habdamim ein yochon lo haitziyam gazlan kivan shemes. Can't get the money back because the gazlan died. Then enogeh be'edus v'kosher. Then in that case, he will be he will not be nogeya be'edus. So that is the situation. Again, where it's very specific, where as we said, the Mace Gazlan. So since he died, this is TA 28 on Mem Daled Mud Aleph. So TA 28, since he died, and in addition to that, so he's not going to get the money back, and also there is Yish and Shin Rishus. And therefore, since there's Yish and Shin Rishus, so he's not going to get the Metaltalin back either. Okay. TB 29. So this was question 6. And I wrote Imhem Aputiki Loive, which is not exactly what we're looking for here. So Dilma Aknile Matatle Agamakarka. So it's through Agav, right? And also you wrote that it's not Kasmachta Dolo Kataisi Dishtare. So that is the time. Adkan.